boxing is more than a sport. It's an art form. It's like music. Like art, literally. It's so subjective to what you find is beautiful, sexy, attractive, appealing. That's how people, I think that's how they come to the conclusion of who's their favorite fighter, what's their favorite fighting styles. You hear people talking about Triple G and him endearing himself to the Mexican fan base because of his Mexican style boxing. A lot of times when they're trying to describe a black fighter and they don't want to come across sounding douchey, they'll say, yeah, he's a slick fighter. He's a slick style. Trying to say he fight like he black, or that's how they saying black fighters are. Which I think they should stop saying slick and just really acknowledge that a lot of black fighters have a lot of natural athleticism. You know, maybe not always honed into the finest boxing technique, but instead of calling it slick, you could just say natural athleticism, but maybe that's too much credit. But boxing is that subjective, right? So, how do you determine who's your favorite or what makes a fighter your favorite? Like music, like a woman, like a car. It all depends on what's appealing. Two of my favorites that I can say, these are not everybody's favorites. This is I'm going deep, and I'm gonna make you do some homework. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Brick City, stand up. So thorough. He got tired of the media not announcing his nickname as Marvelous, and he changed his legal name to Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Since I mentioned Triple G, let's talk about it. If you ever gonna hang around one division forever and not move up and not move down, if you're gonna hang around one division and you don't do it like Marvin Hagler did it, then you can't be considered pound for pound. Some geek is gonna correct me. It's cool. I'm a geek too. 12 years of title defenses. Most of them by knockouts, I think, except for 3. Avenged all his losses, which was only 3, except the Ray Leonard loss. And the style, because what people saw in the late part of his career was the grinder. He was just tough, and he took a lot more punches later in his career than he did in the beginning of his career, because in the beginning of his career, he was considered a slick fighter, slick boxer. Still southpaw, by the way. But nonetheless, he had an excellent career. There are fights way before Hearns, way before Leonard. He fought some good Argentinian guys. Listen, he had an excellent career at middleweight, and I think you should go back. And what makes me, endeared to a fighter like that is just beyond the style and recognizing why and how his styles changed. His integrity about boxing. He just fought. He fought whoever was there, and he was determined not to lose. And back then, by the way, they were fighting 15-round fights. That's why Ray won at 12 rounds. There's no way in hell he would have lasted 15 with Hagler. So, one of my favorites. Go and do your homework. Another favorite, in a totally different type of style. Connecticut, New Haven, stand up, Chad Dawson. Now, Chad Dawson, His offense was his defense. That's the only knock I could say. An amazing puncher. I never seen him throw nothing less than a maybe 3 to 4 punch combination unless it was a jab. And accurate. Hand speed. Footwork. Shifting. Southpaw as well. He took down Thomas Adamek and he basically just ran 175. You know? When people were not impressed. That's what when they used to call the kingpin of the division, the kingpin. I know that people thought the Hopkins fight was a debacle, whatever you think of it, but he wouldn't let Hopkins fight the fight that he wanted to. I don't believe Hopkins hurt his shoulder in the first fight, and Chad did what he was supposed to do in the second fight. Okay? So when people were still waiting for a verification on Andre Ward in terms of, where, by the way, Andre Ward, again, another one of my favorite fighters, getting in there with Chad Dawson, that was, I think, the stamp of his career. The Kovalev was like the piece de resistance. But the Chad Dawson fight was something, I think both those fighters, that was like a changing of the guard. Andre Ward, that strong, the lead hand is your strong hand. Him and Cotto, that was their thing that established them as greats, Ward, it's things that he could do. He could parry with the same hand and then counter with it. Ridiculous level of skill and athleticism. And I never heard anybody call Andre Ward a slick fighter. He is too technical, So again, I think that term slick fighter, I think you have to just recognize the natural athleticism and stop using that term slick. But who's your favorite fighter, It's easy to say Muhammad Ali. And again, the choice of Muhammad Ali, I love Muhammad Ali. Love Muhammad Ali. But I also love Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes had that stick. It wasn't just a jab, it was that stick. Larry Holmes was that guy, it just depends on what you like, what you saw about a particular fighter, So yeah, think about that, digest that. Let me know what y'all think, all right? And I'll get back with y'all.